Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm gonna show you how I built the framing for my rock wall. As you see, this wall was just plain and the TV kinda look absurd just by itself on the wall there. I could have went and got a TV entertainment center, but those are kinda outdated. I built something similar to this in my last house, and when I just moved down south and bought this house, they had this big giant wall here with nothing on it, so I figured this would be a perfect place to do the rock wall. As you see, I did basically just the four boards to go all the way around. Once you have that, then you want to put a couple of boards on each side of your TV, and that everything else that you build is going to basically go off of these boards. I could have built the framing on the ground, but the thing is, with this being so wide, I would have had to make it shorter by at least a few inches, so I figured I would just build everything right in place and the top board can go right up to the ceiling, make it a little bit more flush, make it a little bit more better. And I know even if I don't screw it into the wall, this thing can never flip and fall down. Now you want to keep a couple of inches away from the TV, especially if you use a similar rock ledger stone tile like I did. They say it's about 3/4 of an inch thickness, but some of them are actually over an inch, pushing closer to 1.25 inches. So if you leave 2 inches on each side, even if you have some of those bigger tiles, you're still left about 3/4 on each side, which is more than enough so you can push the TV back into its little hole and doesn't have to sit on the outside. I've seen a bunch of people where they build it and they just do a flat wall and then the TV's kind of just like hanging off the wall. I'm not really a fan of that. I like more when the TV has its own little hole and you can kind of push it back in and it sits flush with the rock wall. Now since I did do it this way, I had to put a couple of 2x4s next to these 2x10s, screw them up, and then I can actually take a couple more screws from the side and it will hold it in place. Also, once I start building the rest of the little, I'm going to do like cubby holes basically on each side. Once I start building that, everything's going to kind of hold it together better. I have everything kind of fast moving here because I don't think you want to sit here and watch me build this as and in regular time, because it's like a few hours worth of video that I have, so everything's kind of fast forwarded. If anybody wants to see any other details of how I did anything, I have a bunch of other videos. I can also upload those in raw footage. Now I am working by myself, so I'm putting a 2x4 on this side and I can just kind of hang the 2x10 off of that while it's secure one side. Then I can come back, do this side, and I don't need anybody actually holding it for me. Now I've done this whole thing. I've done the same thing for the top board. I put a 2x4 in the corner, slid it on there, raised the other side up, screwed it into the ceiling, and I was able to do it all by myself. So if you don't have anybody to help you with this, there are different ways you can do this and still do it by yourself. Now also I left about 2 inches gap at the bottom. It seems like it's a big gap, but once you get tile in there, you're gonna shrink that down to the perfect size. Now you could have used 2x4s to do this. did a little extra, but I didn't record for some reason. The camera shut off. Obviously, I put one above the TV, one under, and I did a couple. So my camera shut off for some reason. I didn't get on camera doing these boards here. Three on each side. But I have plenty of footage of doing the rest of this. But like I was saying, you can do this in 2x4s. I've seen people doing 2x4s. But just let's say for the bottom, you need to put two boards at the bottom, one against the wall, and then one farther out on whatever distance. Let's say these are 9 1/4 true size. They call it a 2x10, but it's actually about a 9 1/4, give or take. Everywhere you have a board, you would have to use two 2x4s. So by the time you buy double the material, you're gonna need more screws, more time, and then you gotta make sure everything's still level, and one board isn't higher than the next. So it's more work, more boards. So you're better off just getting a wider board, and then you could just pull one on the, let's say on the left side, one on the right side, one up top, one at the bottom, instead of doing two on the left, two on the right, two at the top, two at the bottom, and then every little cubby hole will need double the boards. So it's easier, better, and faster to just get a wider board. Last house I used 2x8s, but by the time I put the fireplace insert, it was kind of tight for the cables in the back. So this time I decided to use 2x10s, and it'll actually give me a little extra space behind the fireplace and also behind the TV if I want to put anything back there. I'll have extra room for any cables because I'm doing lights and stuff on this as well. Now I would mark on both sides about 20 inches tall for the cubby holes, and I think it was about a foot in between. I spaced them out so that way they're perfectly evenly spaced out. I've seen other people where they do flat with a TV, or just do like two holes or one, or wider ones. In my case, I couldn't do wider, obviously, because I have the door on the left side. If I didn't have that door, I would have probably went with the wider ones. But even so, it's an 85-inch TV, and I still have about, I think it was like 3 feet on each side of the TV, so it's still a big wall. Now this wall that I did have the TV on, they spaced the 2x4s in the wall 24 inches apart, so I had to put a piece of wood in the back, like plywood, and only one of the bolts I was actually able to get studs into them, so one at the top, one at the bottom. It would have been better if I could get two more into it, but I couldn't, so I had to do what I had to do. I put a piece of plywood in the back, and I was able to use that, anchor it down to the studs, and then the TV mount was screwed into that. Now this little device here that I found, it's just a cheap version. They have more expensive ones. It lets you drill at an angle, and then you can get your screws in from the side. So since the way I'm doing everything's kind of tight, and certain places you can't really get a drill into there, so if you drill from the side, you can actually get the screws in, and you can leave, let's say, an inch at the end of meat basically on the wood, so it'll still hold very well. And they provide you the drill bit, the little, what do you call it, little device basically that you drill at an angle. So on this left side I was able to put screws from this side, but on the other side I have the wall, so since I didn't build this on the ground, I had to do it this way, and it helps because I can just put the screws from an angle and it will still hold just as good as if it was from the side. Now, don't mind my tools. I'm not like a professional carpenter or woodworker. just able to build things with my own hands. I can see in my head and just start putting things together and make it look good. Now I am new to this YouTube, so if you're still around this time, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. There will be more videos coming out. I still gotta edit some more stuff and put up here, but I'll also be building more things, and I'm gonna try to record and add it on here. So if you like this content, hit the like, hit the subscribe. You could have also put the TV last up, but since I have kids and they all want to watch TV, so I ended up putting the TV up and just decided to build around it. I did center the TV right in the middle of the wall, so that way I have even gaps on both sides. What I really was surprised is how big of a bowl there is in this wall where the TV's on. It's over an inch gap basically. If you was to put a board that's flat against that wall, you have over an inch gap in the middle. I'm not trying to blast Dr. D.R. Horton homes, but they could definitely do a better job if they was blindfolded in some areas. I'm still fighting them on a bunch of things that they really do a good job on, and I like things kind of to be done well, done right, and a lot of things in here are not done right. I had them fix a bunch of things. A bunch of walls were all the sheetrock on it was all crooked. Still fighting them. The driveway's cracked. They're saying they won't replace it. It was like, if it's not bigger than this size, it's not covered. It's like, makes no sense, but we'll see what they decide to do. If you're buying a house, make sure everything's done before closing, because they will not want to fix anything for you. Now this is the last board for the cubby hole. And this is what it looks like. Now I'm still gonna add more boards down here where the fireplace is gonna be at the bottom, and I will add more boards in those cubby holes to make them slightly narrower, but that will also give me a little bit more room for the rock tile on the sides, so it doesn't look too skinny on the edges there. So, but you'll see in a second here. Now I'm just cutting out a bunch of these little pieces that I'm going to need for the cubby holes. Now this is what I was saying. I make it slightly smaller, which will give me like 4 or 5 inches at the end of width besides the cubby hole, so that way it's not 1.5 inches thickness, because I don't think that would look very well that way. So now this little DeWalt angle bit drive, or whatever you want to call it, comes in handy in tight spots. If you can't fit your drill into something, you use that. You can get most screws into anything. Some of these 2x10s were slightly crooked, so I had to make sure they sit flush, so they're not at an angle. They're using smaller and smaller trees to make boards out of, so they tend to warp more than they used to. So now, one good thing that about moving into a neighborhood where they're building new homes is I was able to find half pieces of sheetrock just laying around. So I was able to just grab some of that they threw out, so I didn't have to buy any sheetrock, even though it's not too expensive. But I figured if it's at the curb they're not gonna use it, might as well grab it, so ended up using that and saved a few bucks on that. I'll probably have a separate video for the sheetrock, because this video is already getting over 20 minutes long, so if you're looking to do framing, you can kind of see here how the framing is done, or one of the ways you can do it. Then I'll have the sheetrock and the rock ledger stone is going to be in a separate one, so I did end up getting some LED lights. Kind of nice, you don't have to run full power or 120 volt power to each light. You plug in the LEDs and you get enough cable to run small circle flat LED lights to each little cubby hole, and get some light out of it. And it's fairly easy to use. You got a power supply, plugs into a splitter, and you can plug in 8 lights out of just one, but you can plug in 2 splitters off of one power supply. They give you 12 lights with this package that I have, but you can plug in 16 lights to, if you need it. I'm going to be running 1 light to each cubby hole. I'm going to run 2 more above the fireplace. There's going to be another long cubby hole. It's going to be for the sound bar. I'm going to run 2 there and probably a couple behind the TV. Alright, so this is what it's kind of supposed to look like once you're done. Fireplace will go in that middle one. That's going to be a cubby hole for the sound bar. And then 3 cubby holes on each side. You can put whatever you like in there. And then the rest of this is going to be closed up by sheetrock. Now I did decide to put an extra piece of board in the middle. I don't think the fireplace is going to be that heavy, but just to prevent some wood warping or like sagging down or anything like that, this will help kind of hold the weight up. Now I did run